All right, man. Episode 10, bro.
Yeah.
It's so fast, man. 10 episodes in, bro. We made it.
10
We
of them
scrapped a
things.
couple, but we made it to the 10 that's out, man. That shit's crazy. That shit's crazy, man. I just remember I was telling my cousin the other day, because, you met my cousin. I'm not going to say her name, but you met my cousin the other day, and I was telling her the story about, like, how all this came about. And it's just crazy to me just watching shit manifest, bro. Like, it's always crazy to me. It never gets old. Like, just the fact how we just kind of, like, how we met it. Like, I'll say this guy's name just because I want to give him some credit. Nick Markarian's party. And then from there, just, like, meeting up every week and just kind of, like, keeping it going. And then, like, coming up with the idea, like, hey, let's start a podcast. And then, shit, here we are, 10 episodes later. It's like, man, still going strong. And I wanted to start off too, low key, like in the back of my head, I was thinking about how, because I posted this one today on last episode, episode 9. You were talking about how when we meet up, it's like we have like this mutual inspiration with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That we just kind of like, it's like every meeting we have, it's like there's some magic within it. You know what I mean? Like I either feel inspired, it's just like I leave, like, first of all, I respect you as a person, but I just wanted to say that listening back to that clip, I didn't really feel like I gave you your flowers, and I wanted to do that on camera, bro. Like, I just wanted to tell you, man, like, how much I appreciate our friendship, bro. Like, that shit means a lot to me. Like I've told you kind of before about it, but our friendship kind of, like, sparked as we got closer at a time where, like, I really needed it. Because I didn't really feel like I had anybody that I could necessarily, like, relate to in terms of, like, the way I was thinking, my thought process and stuff like that. And it's like, looking back, I really don't know, how I'd feel, what that would do to me if I didn't come into our friendship. You know what I'm saying? Because I was at a place where I was feeling kind of down, like almost like leaning into like a depression type of thing, because I felt so lonely. But here we are, recording. We have an off-camera relationship, bro. And this shit just, I'm just happy, bro. Like that's all I can say. Like I'm happy we're here, man.
I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
For sure, bro.
I respect you too. And the relationship, the friendship, man. Like, it's a similar situation that came at a good time for me too, man. Like, I was trying to get out of a depression. It's like trying to talk to people who could kind of relate, kind of not that weren't necessarily in a similar position, but like we're down to listen and like see things from my side. Because I feel like not many people have seen things from my side, and like I feel like you really like took the time to listen and like actually like kind of be like, okay, damn, if I was in that position, maybe I'd feel like that too, and not just kind of look at things a different way. So I appreciate that for real.
Yeah,
For real, bro. And
100%.
10, we here. 10 of them.
Bro.
Feels good.
Shit, what are we going to talk about today? This is another thing I'll throw out there, too, just about how you inspire me for the audience. Every time I talk to Malcolm, he shows me a new book that he's reading. And I talk to him about every week or every 2 weeks. And, like, he'll be like, oh, yeah, I read this book or that book. And it's like, bro, like, it's only been, like, fucking 9 days. Like, you know what I'm saying? And, like, you're already on a new book. But, I know we kind of talked about it, in our like personal conversation about some of the books you're reading. I know you wanted to talk about that, so shit. I guess we can go from there. Like what you've been reading. We haven't talked. We have not talked about this whatsoever. This is fresh for the camera. Like I don't know what he's about to tell me right now.
Yeah.
So.
Now you kind of that was it. Since the last time we recorded an episode, I've read 3.5 books. I finished the other half of The Catalyst.
Fucking reading animal. Bro.
And then I read Girls and Sex, and then I read iGen, and then I read Cast, and then now I'm working on The Nature of Prejudice. So those are the kind of 4 that I've finished and I'm working on now. But I got like 10 different ones like in progress because I just like reading. I like intaking different information. So like pretty much what I'll do, because I just wanted to read more pretty much, and so like in order to do that, I wanted to incorporate it into my like daily routine. So that's why I try to read in the morning. Like I wake up and it's like one of the first things I do. I try to read for a couple hours. I like that routine and it kind of helps me like get things like read. And then what I'll do too is I'll try to read 1 to 3 chapters from 1 to 3 books. And like that's kind of just a daily. Try to do that daily. So like I'm getting a little information from different places. But they've all been different. Like they kind of all just bring different information, bring different perspectives and different aspects. I really kind of liked Cast. That was a good one. It was by a woman named Isabel Wilkerson, and it just kind of talks about it's making an argument that there's a caste system in America, and it kind of compares that and talks about other caste systems historically, one being in India and one being Nazi Germany. And it kind of just brings up how the caste system in America is like based on white supremacy and is like a hierarchy. And
so what's a caste system?
A caste system is kind of where it's like there's a set caste where it's like there's higher levels and lower levels. And so it's like you have, it's kind of similar to class, but it's a little different, but similar in the fact that it's like there's separations like that. So there's the higher members of caste and lower members. And basically the argument she's making is that in India, not currently, but at a time they called them the untouchables, and that was like the lowest caste, and that's what she's kind of says black people are in America, and like they're kind of the lowest caste, and that's where everybody, the scale that everybody else uses. And it's just interesting because like part of what she talks about is Dr. King, he went over to India, and he kind of just to look at their caste system, and they called him an untouchable, and at first he was offended by it, but then he kind of recognized like that is, you know, the situation that they were in there was similar to the situation he was facing here in America. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, it's a deep book. It makes a lot of points and a lot of just different, it presents a lot of information that wasn't necessarily like that common.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of worldly connections to me. You know what I mean? Just kind of like making connections from different cultures and other, not civilizations, but other societies around the world to like how we do it here. That's always interesting to me, bro. Just kind of see how like, you know, things, there's a different circumstance on the other side of the world, but somehow there's so many similarities, you know what I mean? And how some people are, you know, casted out, so to speak. And, you know, there's different levels of, you call it a caste, but like classes. That's what I know, you know, when I say that. But
it's the commonalities. That's the thing. We have more in common than we are different, but it's like people harp on the differences. And even in the nature of prejudice, it kind of talks about within groups, there's usually more differences within groups than in between groups per se. So kind of like if you were to think of like white as a group, black as a group, or like there's more differences within the white group and within the black group than there are between the white and the black groups.
Right.
But it's like we don't really look at it like that because we're so focused on the differences. But there's a lot more similarities that we kind of neglect to see.
What do you think about this? This is just one of my crazy ass thoughts. I was thinking one day, do you think that in order for racism in America to like be eliminated, do you think that our cultures have to integrate?
Yeah.
I think that's just, I don't know if I've said it on here before, but I was thinking about it one day, and I was kind of thinking about how there's such a you know, just kind of like a misunderstanding amongst different cultures. You know what I mean? Like talking to like my friends that aren't black and stuff like that. There's certain people that black things just pick up on and know. Yeah. But that causes prejudice. You know what I mean? Like that's how you could look at somebody and assume they're a certain way. So I'm just, like I said, just making that point and connecting it to this thought. I feel like in order for us to completely get rid of racism, we would have to downplay prejudice. In order to do that, we'd have to be familiar with each other's cultures. Yes. So that means, not to say everybody would have to be the same, but you know what I'm saying? Like we would have to understand like, you know, each other's cultures, like fooling through, almost like we would have to be almost like culturally the same, if that makes any sense, or at least have knowledge of what it's like to be in someone else's culture. Yeah. Like, what do you think about that?
Nah, you just hit. It's crazy. You hit on a whole section of the nature of prejudice.
I'm always doing that shit.
And it's kind of like
I don't read. It's just crazy. I just did it.
But yeah, nah, you did, and because it just talks about the significance of one acquaintanceship having like between the races, right. And because it does talk about intercultural relations and like to strengthen those acquaintanceship is a good way to do that. But it also talks about like the types of contact. So it's like if you have, maybe somebody has like 2 bad experiences with a black person, right? But those are the only 2 experiences they've had. That can taint that can taint the way they, and vice versa. Say you have 2 bad experiences with a white person or somebody of a different ethnicity or race, and it's like that kind of that has a serious negative effect. Right. And so it's basically saying like the importance of the types of contacts, like having acquaintanceship, getting to know people on a familiar level, that does a lot to reduce prejudice. Right. And like that's what we would need to get to essentially. We need to get acquainted, acquainted with each other. So it's not like people, it's not like so unfamiliar.
Right.
Because that's the other thing it kind of talks about too, is like how people in certain areas won't have any contact with a certain other group, but will still hate that group or will still have prejudice against it. But it's like they don't have any interactions with it. And so it's like kind of like, how do you come to that? And it's like we got to reverse that, and that's acquaintanceship. You know.
That's more or less the things that are taught, though. You know, I feel like when you have hatred and you don't even know, that's just like that's just generational shit, passing it down.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
What do you think about the percentage of people? I'm just interviewing you and shit, bro. When you think about the percentage of people that, because I'm just thinking about our situation right now, like in America, bro. Like, do you think that there's more people that want unity or more people that want hate, or do you think it's a 50-50 split? I was listening to an interview the other day with Tiffany Haddish, and she was explaining that pretty much she feels like it's depicted that we have a 50-50 split. Like, you know, some people don't want unification and then the other half of the people do. But she was saying that she thinks it's really like 15 to 20% that are on the bad side. You know what I'm saying? That don't want unification. And then like it's the majority of us do. The majority of us want peace. The majority of us want to be together, but it's kind of depicted like it's half and half. Yeah. What do you think? What are your numbers? Like,
I would say it's pretty accurate. I don't know exact numbers, but it's like the concept is just like how the fringe and the extremes are what is getting pushed to the top on both sides. So it's really, like she's saying, it probably is only a small number of people who want anarchy and chaos and wanted to just like see it descend into like absolute madness where people are just taking up guns, shooting each other, and like race wars and all that. Like it's only a small percentage of people. I don't know for sure, but like my intuition and kind of how I feel is like it's a smaller percentage, but that's getting sensationalized and that's getting showed more so on like news stations, because the more extreme one side goes, then it's like the other side, because that's what it is. It's like most people are kind of somewhere near the middle, but it's like we're just seeing both the extremes on both sides, and that's what's kind of like pitting people against each other. Yeah. But it's like I just want one more. I don't want to downplay it either, though. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like it would be naive and bad to assume that it's only a minority of people who want anarchy and chaos, and then that number, if that number really is larger than what we estimate, then that could be detrimental.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. I didn't even get to talk to you about, I don't want to missay his name, the situation that happened in Wisconsin with the guy that got shot 7 times in the back.
Jacob Blake, I think.
Jacob Blake, yeah, that was his name. I didn't even get to talk to you about that. I was wondering, you know, what was your view on that? Like, what did you think? Man. Did you get to see the video, and did you get to see the things that came about, like the NBA protests, and all that other stuff?
Yeah, I saw parts of the video. I didn't watch like a whole continuous clip. I saw parts of him getting shot, and I mean, it was tough. It was like there's two sides. Like there's a numbness too, for sure. Yeah. Whereas like.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Like, I wanted to ask you, like, were you surprised? That's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah.
That's what's like, and that, I don't want it to be, like, too, like, bleak, but it's like, that's kind of what, like I said, it's that numbness where it's like, this has been happening. This is what people are protesting and fighting over. And it's like, it's continually happening while you have people saying that it's, like, not a problem. Right. And so it's like, that kind of conflict is like, I don't know. I'm not trying to desensitize the situation, because it's like it shouldn't have happened, but it's like, am I surprised that something like that happened? Like not necessarily.
I was trying to get at, I mean, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I know we had a conversation about it before, but I kind of feel like this stuff is going to keep happening, and I feel like it's going to keep happening until we actually fix the problem. Like, you know, and I feel like that's a long ways down the line. Yeah. And I'm just kind of like once again, like, I don't want to sound, you know, negative or anything like that, but I mean, I feel like until we fix this greater problem of like actually handling like the economic side of everything and like the psychological problems that we have, this is going to keep on happening. Yeah. And I feel like, not to say people shouldn't be surprised, but you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, like, we live in a country where shit isn't right. Like, you know? We've created a context where this is okay. People get off for this thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel, not to say that it wouldn't help, but I'm thinking of what I'm trying to get at, because I don't want to misspeak, but I feel like we should just be focused on fixing the problem, and it's just kind of like, I don't want to say we shouldn't recognize those things. I definitely think we should. But I mean, like, you know, to start, I feel like, in a way, to start like a whole nother, you know, like people are angry and stuff. I feel like people should know this is going to happen, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm kind of trying to figure out a way to say it. Not that I'm not saying that people should be okay with it, but I feel like people shouldn't be shocked. Because I see the narrative of people being like, this shit continues to happen. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe it's still happening. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We marched last week. It happened again. I'm kind of like, I'm not surprised
it's going to keep happening.
I'm like, it's going to keep happening until we fix this. This is foundational. This is psychological.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if I had an end game with that.
No, it gets at though.
If it was purposeful.
It's a bigger problem though, and like that's kind of the problem of white supremacy and like the superiority inferiority complex and like the valuation of life. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like historically black life has been devalued, and that's what happens.
Yeah. Even amongst ourselves.
Yeah, that's a byproduct of it, of conforming to the larger social context. Mm-hmm. You know, it even talks about that a little bit in The Nature of Prejudice. It talks about conformity and how people will kind of talks about passing and how people will kind of try to leave their group if their group is ostracized because it's like, I mean, it's like the easy way out, essentially. It's kind of like the point that he's making. Mm-hmm. But the policing problem is the product of a bigger problem, too, and, like, that's the foundational racism, and, like, that's what needs to be addressed. Like, that's what people are kind of slowly, not even slowly, but it's just, like, I feel like some people are more reluctant than others to kind of see the negative aspects of America. Right. You know, they kind of want to, and that's interesting, too, because it talks about a love prejudice, and it's in feeling about anything more love than is right. It's like you have so much love for something that you start kind of hating on other things. Mm-hmm. And like that's, I feel like in a nutshell, almost sometimes people's view of America. They love it so much that it's like they're blinded by all the negative that is done. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, it's done a lot of good, but it's like at the same time, it's like people who don't even address, because like people say, it's the original sin that's never been addressed. Mm-hmm. Like that's slavery, and like that needs to be remedied, and like that there needs to be some sort of corrective action, or some sort of, I mean, it needs to be some sort of conversation, because that's where the friction is stemming from, you know. That is what laid the foundation for the interactions, you know.
Exactly, for everything else to happen.
Exactly. So like that kind of needs to be addressed first, and then it's like from there, then we need to kind of analyze. That'll tell us why the relationships are the way they are, kind of.
What do you think will bring that about? If anything.
I mean, see, the thing is, there's a bill. I think it's in, I don't know if it's in the House or in the Senate, but it's like, it's basically a bill to try to study slavery, like really study it. And it's not reparations. It's not meant to give any money. It's meant to just study it. They won't even pass it, because it's meant to do like a super in-depth study and like really kind of try to get to the bottom of it, like who are descendants of it and like kind of how it was operated and all that. But it's like they won't pass the bill. It's sitting because it's like, and that kind of tells you, you know, it's like people, it's like that reluctance to study, okay, where our mistakes or where we were wrong or the original sin, and try to correct for it.
Right. Do you think that because slavery was, in a sense, you know, monetized, do you think that fixing the problem with racism would mean that we have to fix the problem with capitalism, if it is a problem?
Yeah. No, I mean, because that's what people also have to come to terms. Is like, slavery was in a sense kind of like it only got, capitalism kind of exacerbated slavery. It transformed it into something even bigger. Yeah. And it kind of like, that monetization incentivized it even more so. And so it's kind of like that needs to, that's something I feel like people do need to address, essentially, is how it's like, when slavery was operating, it was under a similar capitalistic system that is happening now. You know, and so it's like, maybe we should question how a system, you know, can allow for that kind of exploitation. And like maybe we should kind of address that and see if that, and just not even saying that it needs to be overthrown, but maybe just question it a little bit. Right. That's it. And like just see, is everyone really benefiting from this? Because then you got people who can like rationalize that everyone's benefiting from it. Like there's people that are saying like, we're doing Africans and we're doing the slaves a favor. We're bettering their lives. And like that's what like the plantations and slave masters would say, things like that. The first people to even start slavery were missionaries saying they're trying to uplift people. They're trying to bring civilization to these people. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. That concept of where it's like that superiority complex essentially, where you think you're so superior that you're going to just like bestow a way of life on someone that they didn't ask for. And then you're going to tell them this is good for you. This is best for you.
And if they want to go against it and be defiant, then we're going to kill you.
Exactly. They're the problem.
It's crazy. Man. I saw an image on Instagram of it was a slave master. They were hanging a black child because his father didn't produce his quota for the day, and they were holding up a Bible while they were hanging this kid, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's just like, bro, what? Like
that.
And they rationalized that. Like that was the good thing to do.
That was okay.
Yeah.
That was right. And that's kind of similar. It's the same thing, like tied into like religion, where it's like maybe. Not saying it needs to be overthrown, not saying it needs to be stripped, but it's like maybe just let's question it a little bit. Especially all religions, like Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, like they all kind of have different aspects that maybe we should question a little bit and not just like blindly follow.
Yeah, man, but I was saying, I'm making an OnlyFans, bro. I'm making an OnlyFans. I'm dead ass serious. Everybody subscribe to me. And I know I told you before, but we haven't said it on here. I need to stop saying that disclaimer. I'm gonna just talk. But anyway, bro, I was watching I believe it was Lip Service with Angela Yee, and she had like a chairman or somebody that worked for OnlyFans, like a creator of it, and he was on there pretty much explaining like you know, like the intent, like when they first started the platform, you know, and how they intended for it to be used, and just kind of like how, you know, content creators could really, you know, monetize their content. And the way he explained it, because there's also two women that are on the show, you know, they're hosts of the show as well, and they have OnlyFans. And, you know, it was cool because, you know, they use the platform, and he's there, and they're asking, you know, specific questions tailored to them. So he had a lot of advice to give them, really, about how to, you know, maximize the things that they do on this platform. And the way that he explained it, you know, I don't mean any disrespect or anything when I say this, but, you know, OnlyFans a lot of times is used for women who are exposing themselves. It's less the times it's men. I feel like just because of like how we're wired, I feel like a lot of women don't just want to go see dudes' dicks. I don't like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what's up with that. but it just don't work like that. Like dudes just rather go see naked chicks. I don't know why it's like that a lot of times, but there's a lot on the platform. There's a lot of women that expose themselves, a lot of men that pay to subscribe to see these pictures of women. And to be honest, bro, I don't understand it because porn is free, and it don't make no sense to me. But hey, if that's what you want to do, you want to see that, that's your girl, go ahead. You want to act like that, she's yours, you know, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and pay for it.
People's getting paid off it. It's crazy. Like these numbers is astronomical.
People's getting paid.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to what I was saying. The dude was kind of explaining to them specific questions tailored to, you know, what they do. It was interesting because, you know, because of what I just said, there's a stigma behind OnlyFans. This is what people think that it is. People think that it's like a porn site. As soon as you see OnlyFans, it's like, oh, girl naked. Like that's what you think when you see OnlyFans. But the way he was explaining it was more or less just kind of like how to entice your consumer. And he wasn't using, you know, the rhetoric of just like, you know, ass and titties. Put this out here. He was like, no, like he was talking about the way that the women could get tips. He was talking about the way that, well, I don't even want to say the women, the way that anybody could get tips from using the platform. And, you know, different, like messaging things you can do, just different things to entice your consumer to make more money, monetize everything. And it was crazy because one of the women was saying that what she did was literally, she said she does not go nude. And she was explaining that literally everything that she would post on her Instagram, she was like, people will probably pay for this. So she cleared her Instagram of any racy photos and just made it her OnlyFans. And then instead of giving it to Instagram for free, she made money off of it. Dude, she was racking in like $30,000 a month, bro. Off this shit, off of bikini photos, like just randomly. But anyway, because of the way that he had explained it, like I said, they weren't using rhetoric. It was just ass and titties. They were using more technical terminology in terms of like how to be a content creator, how to entice your consumer. So I was like, man, like this is really just a platform for like what he said, content creators to monetize their content. And I started thinking, like, man, with what I do as an artist, and especially in the condition of COVID, we can't really go anywhere. I actually planned to have a show. It was actually supposed to be on August 17th, a couple weeks ago. But because of COVID, as soon as it set in February, I knew I wasn't going to be able to have the show. After a few weeks passed by, I was like, okay, that's out. But just thinking about the condition of COVID and not being able to meet up in a group setting, which is very detrimental to what I want to do in terms of having a big ass show, people come out and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I, be a little savvy, and figure something else out for people to be able to support me. So that's why I said I'm making a fucking OnlyFans. and I remember when I first came to you and asked you about it, because this was an idea from a while ago, but the audience doesn't know. Yeah. I remember when I first came to you and told you, because I respect your opinion on ideas and stuff, and I know that you have the vision a lot of times, but I was just saying, like, man, I don't know what people are going to think. Like when I put out that link and it's like, oh snap, like, bro has an OnlyFans? Yeah. Like, what? Why does he have an OnlyFans? But the way that I looked at it was like, man, this is just a way to monetize my content. So as opposed to having a show and having people pay for tickets, it's like, let's do the virtual thing. You can't come in person, so if you fuck with my art, you want to support it, same way you would do a show. Here's all the work that I've been working on, and if you want to support it, then pay a cool subscription to see what I've been working on. Same thing like you would do in person. But that really made me just think about the what would you say? Like the what's the word? I'm losing
the stigma.
Exactly.
That's around it.
The stigma that's behind it, because it's more or less, once again, going back to the chairman, the dude that's on the board for OnlyFans, like that wasn't necessarily their intent to create a pornography site. But it's like, because people kind of took it and ran with it, that's like what it became, and that's what everybody thinks it is and knows it for. But it's like, no, this is a content sharing site. This is not a porn site.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, people caking up off of OnlyFans though, man. Like, I remember I saw this one thing. This girl bought like her dream house, bro. Like, people making like $50,000, just crazy amounts of money off of this, bro. Crazy amounts of money.
No, that's it. Like, that's kind of it. What you hit on is like the way it became sexualized, but wasn't meant to be sexualized, and then that connotation stuck with it. That is like a prime example, or a decent example of like the way things, when they're misinterpreted or misused, right. It's like certain, and then they get connotations of their misuse, so then like the whole perceptions are distorted.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of like people get this idea, and it's the same thing with like different social media. Like the creators, they weren't expecting it to be a certain thing. They really wanted people to connect. They wanted it to be a way of like, getting to know people, staying in touch, but then they could never have known either what it was going to turn into. And like, but once it does, then it's like, it's hard. That's like the power of perception. You can't really necessarily get in front of it once it's already like gone a certain way.
You can't reel that back in.
Exactly.
No, it's already done.
Exactly. And like the way it sticks too, like the perception of the sexualization of OnlyFans, like it's stuck. People hear that and like they already have like a certain connotation of it.
They already think it. Like I remember I told one of my other friends, and they were just like, "What the fuck? Why?" And I was like, "Bro, listen to me though." I was like, "Listen to me. It's not a porn
It's not
site.
What you think it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what it is. It's just a way to monetize your content. There's other platforms that do it too, but OnlyFans is just like the prominent one that I could think of, because that's the one that everybody knows, everybody's caking up off of, like real easy, like. But
it's a way to leverage your creative power too, and like leverage your creativity, because then it's like people are gonna, if they want to see, then like they're gonna pay, and it's like that's kind of like, it's like leveraging yourself, your own power.
But I feel like, in a sense, like what I'm doing when I say I'm going to make an OnlyFans can translate over to what we were talking about the other day about making a Twitter for us, for Social Class. Social Class is going to have a Twitter page. And Malcolm was pretty much saying, Malcolm was the one that came up with the idea, but we were kind of reluctant about starting a Twitter page from the beginning, kind of because of what Twitter is. You know what I mean? Well, I don't even want to say what it is, but what a lot of people perceive it as. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the information, and how people put it out. But, yeah, man, Social Class is having a Twitter page. I just wanted to make that announcement. And we're going to make it after this episode. Yeah.
But now that you...
So follow.
The perception of the interaction, though, it's like people kind of think, oh, we're just gonna come over here and like mess around and like bullshit. But it's like there are some people that really come on to utilize it to connect and network and learn. Mm-hmm. It's like kind of all about like that approach and that's why it's like there's something I thought about a while back, but just like the importance of intentions. And like what your intentions are before you're doing something, you know, or before anything, like that is a very important, because like, man, that's almost like, and that's what we have to really kind of reflect on too, kind of like, are people's intentions pure, or is it like malintent when people is like are doing things? Are they doing things for certain reasons, or is like, what are their intentions? I feel like that's something that if that was more transparent and like no, honest and genuine, you know, I feel like that's something.
It just made it worse. Like, yo,
I was like,
reading, bro. I was like, I ain't never heard that one.
It came out, bro, and I was like, I just threw those together. But man,
it's like I never heard that one, bro. This dude been reading.
I was like, what?
Oh shit. Anyway, you're talking about intent.
Yes, more transparency and intentions. Right. I feel like that could go a long way, and holding people accountable. You know, like, what are your intentions? You should be able to express transparently, like, this is what I intended, this is what I wanted. You know, exactly. And if it shouldn't just be able to like, you shouldn't be able to just BS it and be like, oh no, I had good intentions, but it just turned out this way. But it's like whole time you wanted it to do that, but you just like try to put it out as you had good intentions, but it really wasn't.
I think we need to be mindful of the fact that humans make errors too, bro. Because like when you talking about intention, you made me think about something like really clear right now. You know, I'm super big on Nip, bro. That was my dude. But I remember one time I was listening to a Nip interview, and he spoke on, you know how they like to start shit in the media, ask people about shit that has nothing to do with them. Yeah. But some celebrity made a comment about something, and they asked, it has nothing to do with Nip, but they asked him about it. And he was pretty much saying that, you know, that his perception on it, like, he was pretty much okay with it when, you know, they expected him not to be. But he was saying that the reason he was okay with it, or he was just saying that if he feels like the intent behind what somebody was trying to say or do, you know, was there, then he'll give the execution a little bit of wiggle room. You know, he was saying it's like, he was pretty much trying to say that we should judge people by what they intended. You know what I mean? Because humans make errors. Yes. And that almost makes, like, even to be transparent, when we were talking in this podcast, early in the podcast, I was trying to pull out a point kind of about how, when I was talking about, you know, the last incident and how I feel like people should, like, once again, like, not to say there shouldn't be an uproar, but have an understanding that, you know, we're in a condition of something that's going to continue to happen. But like, while I was figuring out the words and how I was trying to say it, I could tell that you weren't necessarily judging me. You were walking with it. You were like, okay, bro, like, get it what you getting at. Yeah. That's kind of like, I feel like the space that we need to be in communication with each other. You know what I mean? Like, let's see what somebody's intending to say. Like, what are they trying to get at?
Man, that's a big one. And like, maybe they don't necessarily just have the right words, but we shouldn't judge them so critically on that part. You know, what are they really, like you're saying, what are they trying to say?
Exactly. Take the time to figure it out. Like,
yeah.
Don't take the time though, man. Don't take the time. But once again, I'm gonna say it. Social Class Twitter page coming out. Interact with it. Interact with us on Instagram. We're trying to post more. I've been asking y'all questions. Ain't nobody been saying shit. Bro.
It's alright.
I've been saying shit. I've been saying thoughts. Ain't nobody saying nothing. I don't know what nobody thinking. But interact with us for real. Like, we're gonna do a better job too of making sure that, you know, we put things out there for you guys to interact with and stuff, because we want to hear what people think. That's something we've said since, like, you know, day one. You know what I mean? It's not all about our perspectives. We want to hear other perspectives. You know? Yeah, man.
Guests coming soon too.
Guests coming soon. As soon as we're gonna, I'll just leave that a surprise. You know? But yeah, guests are coming soon. There's going to be a little bit of an enlightenment period for Social Class. So let's put it that way. So.
But no, yeah, just kind of comparing our generation to other generations when they were our age, and kind of seeing that we're doing a lot. We're on our phones a lot is like her premise, what she's talking about the most. But she's also talks about how it's a lot. We're doing things a lot later, and like we're basically coming into adulthood later is what she's saying. Like buying homes, starting families, getting married, even like living together, and kind of like all this stuff we're doing later than other generations did, because and she's kind of trying to figure out the reasons but a lot of it she puts to like the phone, like the way like people are addicted to their phones and like the way people are interacting with them, and like some of the people she talks to even it's interesting, cause like once I read the point I saw it in real life. I mean I had already seen it in real life, but the way that most people don't necessarily our age and our generation don't necessarily interact in person face to face. Most of it is either like Snapchat, Instagram, Xbox, or like some sort of like digital medium, right. And like that's the new norm. And she was like talking to like some 12-year-olds and like 13-year-olds, and she was basically just saying like we don't know how to communicate with each other. And this is coming from like 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds. It was published in 2017, so like I don't know what they are now, but like a couple years older. But it's like the kids recognize it, you know, and like they kind of understand it, but like a lot of them were like they aren't necessarily comfortable with it, but like that's what they're a part of. They don't necessarily have like I was saying the other day, you can't really pick your generation. Like you don't really pick a lot of things, but it's like it's not something you can necessarily leave either. So even if you don't really agree with your generation, you're still gonna be inundated by it in a way, you know. And that's what got me thinking about the social media and everything. You know, it's like as much as I don't really care for it, and I see that I think it's damaging and has some problems and stuff. It's a part of our generation, and it's like it's here to stay, at least for this foreseeable future. It seems like.
Shit, even though we're in an experiment.
Yeah, amazing man.
About to run ourselves in the wreck. I feel like that's the worst thing about social media, man. Like socialization is, man. People don't know how to. I don't know, man.
It's that FOMO. That's what it really like. That's what is inspiring.
I just don't like the fact that more people are comfortable with not talking face to face.
Yeah.
That bothers me about our generation. It really does. Like it's surprising to people because I wouldn't even call it networking. It's just kind of been organically happening to me where I've been kind of like meeting new people, or either somebody will ask me a question or something like that. But to elaborate, I'd rather talk to them than texting them. Yeah. But these may be people that I don't know too well. And I could tell that these people are shocked when I want to talk to them. And it's like, yo, like, I'll just call you real quick. Like, And I could tell, like, in the beginning, it'd be awkward as fuck. But, like, not on my end, but you know what I'm saying?
They're not used to it.
Yeah, because people aren't used to just interacting with each other like that anymore. Like, yo, let's just talk. It'll be easier. But everybody's so used to, just staying, typing, whatever, staying on screens. It's crazy, man. Crazy, man. Buried into the phones. We're slaves to the phones.
That's what she says, how people are addicted to our phones and addicted to social media kind of without even realizing it.
Do you think people ever date again normally? Well, what we used to think was normal? Or is Tinder the new norm? Because I have female friends that I talk to, and I also have a very close female cousin, and like, I talk to her about different things too, but like, man, dudes don't really, like, it's almost like it's abnormal now for somebody to approach somebody. You know what I mean? And speak to them. Want to speak to them. It's like, yo, this weirdo, what the fuck are you trying to talk to me for? Yeah. Like, but like, yo, like, isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah. And that's kind of too, it's like, you had said it in a previous episode, but it's like how Snapchat is now like the standard medium of like, of talking to people, even trying to like go further. And I remember seeing someone one time and they were kind of just making the point where it's like, and this is kind of a product of it, a lot of girls don't prefer that, but they're a product of their generation. That's just what it is. Like, guys are hitting them up on Snapchat, but it's like, if you ask them, they'd probably prefer it if somebody took them out or if somebody, approached them in person, but it's like, that's not where we're at. The nature of things, we're going in a direction where it's like, I'm going to see you in person and hit you up online. Yeah. To maybe hang out later in person, but I'm not going to approach you in person.
Yeah. That's a hell of a dilemma to me, man. Because I'd even got a different outlook from one of my other friends. She was telling me why Snapchat is like the main medium, and I didn't really think of it that way. But man, I feel sorry for girls. There's a lot of weird niggas out there, bro. There's a lot of weird dudes out there. And she was pretty much just telling me like the reason that you would give somebody your Snapchat is because they don't have your number. You could block them, get rid of them, and you never have any trace of them. Yeah. And I was like, damn, that makes sense. You know what I mean? As opposed to giving somebody your number and like talking to them and stuff.
It's like the least attachment.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, yo, if he's weird, I could just, dump him off real quick, and you don't know. Well, I hope you have your location disabled because shit, they could go on the map and see a little person. Yeah. Do you even know about that?
But
You aren't on tech like that.
yeah, no, Snapchat like
On
that.
Snap, they have a little map where you can see all your followers, like
Where
if
they
they
are.
have it enabled and where they're at. Like I could literally go on. I'm not going to name names, but like a couple people that we both know, and like I know where they live and stuff like that. We could go on and we could see like like oh so and so's at home, like oh so and so's right there, like see oh so and so's riding in the car right now, like.
And
Why you look like that?
No, that's I feel like people don't realize like how pervasive technology already is in our lives. Kind of like how we were talking about the whole Neuralink, how like, because that's what I was watching a little bit of that. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it was basically like Elon Musk thing where he wants to put the Fitbit, the Fitbit in your head is kind of how he described it. But it's just like that's where things are going, but it's just like it's one of those things too where it's like I don't know how I'm not necessarily that comfortable with it personally.
Yeah.
Like I just because like I don't it's interesting because it's like I just see like the long term effects. I don't know what those are and like what that could be, but it's like I don't know. And it's like this is part of me like I'm not like anti technology, but it's like at the same time I just feel like it enhances stuff, but it's also diminishing other stuff and like devaluing other stuff. And it's like we aren't necessarily paying attention to that side of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just so pervasive. Like now it's like all this stuff knows exactly where we are, what we're thinking, what we're doing, saying. What we're feeling, exactly all of this. Where it's like, I mean, it's not like I have anything that like is that serious that I'm trying to hide. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, but it's like at the same time, it's just like, what are we gonna get to a point where there's even any more privacy, or it's like just everything out in the open now?
Everything out in the open, bro, unless you're in a cabin in the woods.
Or a compound
cabin in the woods,
cabin in the woods, or a compound in the jungle, bro.
As soon as we get off this podcast and I go on my phone, I bet you money that at least by tomorrow morning I'll probably see some OnlyFans shit on everything because it hurt me.
Oh, for sure.
On everything, bro. That's what I'm telling you, man. We gotta move to Ghana. I'm telling you, bro. We gotta go somewhere, bro. I'm trying to get the fuck up out of here, bro.
I wouldn't mind it. I need to change.
I'm in there crying right now.
I need to change the scenery.
Get the fuck up out of here, bro. Man. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this place. I love it, but I'm sick of it at the same time. I see how dope it is, but like, also I see how not dope it is.
Yeah.
I'm not really crying. I'm just getting something out of my eye.
Cause it's like, where does it end? You know.
It doesn't, Malcolm. It doesn't until we're all robots.
No, it's interesting. This dude, it's called Sapiens. That's one of the books. His name is Yuval Noah Harari, and he basically is one of his things that he thinks we're gonna destroy ourselves and kind of like become cyborgs because we're gonna try to make ourselves like robots and like so robotic, and then we're just gonna like decimate like actual human species to where it's just like not a species anymore. Yeah. Because that's kind of that's what happened to like the Neanderthals. It used to be like before, because we're Homo sapiens, and so before there used to be Neanderthals, there used to be like 6 different like types of human like species on Earth, but then eventually over time there's just one Homo sapiens, like that's humans, that's who we are. And it's like people try to debate and figure out how it came to be one, and like there's not necessarily like a general consensus, but he kind of just thinks like that same process is going to happen with Homo sapiens, but we're going to destroy ourselves, kind of.
So in the end, who will still be here?
Robots, or whatever we create, like the artificial intelligence, it's not going to be, and it's like, it's something like that is feasible. Like, okay, if we keep creating things that are so smart, that are way smarter than us, that are developing, like it's going to come a point in time where they're going to see it. They're going to be like,
fuck. Bro.
Exactly. They're like, the human is inferior now. Like, not just like a certain race, like the whole species.
Right.
That's inferior. It's like, this is our planet now. Man.
No, man.
But, shit, there's no telling. I mean, that's
hopefully we'll be out of here by then.
Yeah.
I hope I'm out of here by then. I'm not trying to be around for that shit.
No, that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I mean. That's what I
bro.
Man. And that's kind of what I feel like we're getting to, too. Is like, people are trying to, like, get to like eternal life. I already see it.
Yeah, people trying to make themselves live forever.
People, the way they're editing babies, the way they're like trying to fix everything, and it's like, my thing is just like, why live forever if you're not trying to like really like change some things? Shit. You know, if you're not really trying exactly.
What, you got a mind-blowing idea?
No, it's just the next book I'm about to read that I just ordered today, so it's not telling. It's supposed to come in like a week or two, but it's called Strangers to Ourselves, and it basically talks about how too much introspection can be bad. And it's like too much, and basically kind of making the point that like when you're too introspective and you think you know yourself so well, you could be misrepresenting yourself or kind of diagnosing yourself. And the argument he's making or kind of what he's saying is like the people around you that are closest to you, they can tell you a lot about yourself, a lot of things that you didn't know or wouldn't necessarily recognize.
Right.
That when you're judging yourself or kind of representing yourself, you don't see those things necessarily, because it's like it can become distorted if it's only your voice and only your input type thing. And it's kind of just like basically what he was kind of saying is like the importance of that external input. Like people that know you can tell you a lot about you. And I was like, that's something I was like, damn, I discounted before, because it's like that's a balance where it's like, because basically just like I was like, I feel like I might be there. You know, I need to. That's why I feel like it's gonna be a good read for me, because it's kind of like, because you get to a point too where it's like, okay, all I need is my own opinion. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about the opinions of other people. You know what I mean? But it's like at the same time, other people can't tell us things about ourselves that we might be neglecting or we might be ignoring, and it's like, damn, that's why it's important to know those things, and that I'm kind of trying to get back into that.
Yeah. Take
into account those things.
No, that's an interesting thought. I never really thought about that, because I mean, now that you mention it, I feel like I played around with that. I feel like I have gotten to the point where I thought that I knew myself so well that, to be honest, like, you can't really tell me nothing. You know, not in like an arrogant way, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like I know me. You know, like, you can't tell me what I thought or what I did wrong. You know, you just can't tell me nothing.
No, exactly.
But no, that is dangerous. That is dangerous. Because then, like you said, that leads into only really thinking your opinion matters, and all things like that.
Or thinking everybody else is wrong when they're trying to tell you different. Because that's the thing I'd kind of been in between about, is like, can people tell us things about ourselves? You know, like, can someone else tell you? And it's like, I realize, like, I mean, it's, like, the same way that as individuals we're able to observe other people, like, they can observe us and, like, see things and recognize things that are habit for us or norm for us, but it's like they don't realize, they see that as something else, you know? Like, we can recognize other people's patterns, but sometimes that's a reflection of our own, like, shortcomings, you know, that we aren't able to recognize necessarily.
That's a powerful statement, man. Fucking getting all deep.
Man, that's all the psychology.
That's one of those things that'll trip you out if you think about it too long. Like, no, like, really, like, man.
It's like, all that psychology, that, like, sociology and stuff.
Do you think that's dangerous?
What?
Learning more about the mind?
No. I think it's better just because it's like, well, we still don't know that much, but it's like, I don't know, where I currently stand now, I'd rather have more information than less. I know I'm not gonna have all the information, but it's like, that's like, it's a gift and a curse, because it's like, that, I feel like I'm already past the point where it's like, I know a little more than not enough, so it's like I want to know more. You know, I kind of keep wanting to know more, even though I know I'm not going to be able to know everything, but I want to make as much sense of things from, like, even from, like, just, like, different perspectives, different historical aspects. Like, one of the books I'm reading, another one is called Orientalism. It's by Edward Said, and it basically talks about...
How many books you fucking reading?
Man, I got 10 in progress. This is just what I dedicated this year to reading. That's what
bro.
Yeah, that's what, man, I just been reading, because I'm just trying to really broaden my perspective.
Bro, I wish we could have like a little counter over the course of the episode of like ding, ding. Every time you mention this book, I was reading this book, I'm like, what the fuck? We're probably going to get to like 30 books you mentioned in this podcast alone. Jesus Christ. That's good though, bro. Knowledge is power.
Man, that's exact. But that's what, it's crazy, because this quote, I told you before, but not on here. Pleasure dulls the pain of consciousness, the same pain that wisdom exacerbates. And, like, that's the same thing where it's like, that's why, and that kind of makes the ignorance is bliss statement make sense. You know, like, the less you know, the happier you can be, for sure. Like, if you don't know all this bad shit is going on, if you don't know the world is burning and things just look okay in your section, then it's like, things are okay. You know, the world's not that. It's not that, but it's like, once you know, like, oh damn, they're doing that over there. Like, they're doing.
You can't unlearn that. You
exactly.
Can't walk back.
Exactly.
It sucks.
Exactly. And it's even tough now because it's like you realize it more. We're just seeing like, oh damn, that's happening. Like, that's happening here too. That's happening.
Child trafficking.
Exactly.
Oh, shit, yeah.
You know, it's like a million different problems going on, kind of type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you about to say about Orientalism?
Oh, okay, I forgot. Thank you for.
Yeah.
It's basically this. I believe he's Arabic, but he's basically just presenting, and he's like a professor. I forget because the book came out in like 1975.
Mm-hmm.
I like to read stuff like historical so I can get different perspectives. But basically, he's an Arabic professor in America, and he's kind of presenting the Eastern worlds. He's trying to present them from their own point of view and kind of comment on the way that the Western world views the Eastern world. That's why he calls it Orientalism, because like that's what I believe that's a derogatory term now, but it's like at one point that was like what people were called that were unfamiliar.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's called like the Occident and the Orient. Like that's what's like the familiar and the unfamiliar kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But he's basically presenting them in their own words and pointing out the fact that so often the Western world tries to present them from their perspective and not from like their own perspective. And like that's a big thing everywhere, you know. Where it's like, and it kind of talks about this in The Nature of Prejudice a little bit too, where it's like we kind of have conceptions of things and we don't necessarily check if those conceptions and perceptions are right.
Mm-hmm.
See, because like what he talks about is like for something to become prejudice, it's if you have a preconceived idea about something and you're presented with evidence that shows you the contrary, but you still hold your beliefs, that's prejudice.
Right.
So now you've been given evidence of like your belief is wrong. Right. Exactly. Then it's like, but you still hold your beliefs. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where the prejudice comes in. Mm-hmm. And there's even a concept called refencing, where it's like, say a person's prejudiced, because in the book it talks a lot about it talks about different kinds of prejudice, like against black people, against Jewish people. And one of the things that refencing is basically, so like, say you're prejudiced against a certain type of people. Say you're prejudiced against black people. You see a black person be successful and they're doing right. You look, okay, you say that's one example. That's one good one, essentially. So you fence it around him. He can come in, but then you refence around like the rest of them are all bad. You know what I'm saying? That's one. There can be some good ones, but the rest of them are bad. And like, I just wonder how many people hold that kind of perception and think they aren't, you know, racist or prejudiced. But it's like, it's kind of like the classic, like, I have a black friend. I have, you know, I associate with him. Like, how can I be racist? But that's misleading, you know. It's incomplete. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I thought Kyle was going to do the little thing yet. I don't know why my time is fucked up today. I feel like we've been talking for a long time, and we haven't. I don't know why. The whole time I've been like, okay, we done yet?
We've been rolling for an hour and 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. And there's something we gotta cut out.
And everything's been fucked up.
Hmm?
Everything's been fucked up. I've been just trying to make some sense of it. That's why reading this show just kind of like.
Bro, I wish I had more time to do it. I have to get to it. I really do. I have to work it into my schedule somehow. Because the same way you were saying how you wake up and like read, that's the same way I do with this stuff.
With your art?
Yeah. As soon as I wake up, I'm like.
Get straight to it.
Straight to it, bro. Literally take off my clothes, brush my teeth, wash my face, throw on my painter pants, and then fucking, the next thing I know, the day goes by. Like, go to work and stuff. Sometimes I don't eat till like 3 o'clock, bro. That's like on the daily. That's what I was fucking up for a minute, because I was doing that for like 4 days straight. I started getting headaches, like massive headaches.
Yeah.
I was like, oh fuck, I can't be doing this, because that'll be the only meal that I ate.
It's like up until that point, your brain hasn't had
3 o'clock, my brain hasn't had nothing.
Any nutrients.
I eat, go to work, and then come back, and then that's it. My brain is fried though.
Same thing, like all the days are thrown off. Time is just kind of like it's crazy. I've been real anxious lately. I'm gonna lie, yeah. Just because it's like, and it's I don't know. I don't know why. Necessarily. I mean, everything. It's kind of like an existential angst where it's just like, there's no telling what the future holds. There's a lot of uncertainty, and it's kind of like, it's interesting because in the book, The Nature of Prejudice, it talks about like an impending doom that sometimes minorities or sometimes outgroups will feel, and it's kind of like, I don't know. That's what it kind of feels like. not necessarily impending doom, but kind of like I don't know what's gonna happen next, and I don't know if it's gonna be good.
Exactly.
You know?
I feel that. I feel that so much.
And it's kind of just like trying to navigate that.
Exactly, trying to navigate the uncertainty.
Yeah.
I feel that on the daily because sometimes, you know, obviously everything that I work for is a setup for the future, and I'm kind of like, is there even gonna be a future? Like,
Yeah,
you know, like,
that's
for real,
like,
that's
yeah.
but
Man.
you know, I try not to think like that, but
Yeah.
just being real, that
But it's
is where
there.
my head goes. I'm like, man, like what? Is there a reason that I'm doing this today for something that, you know, I want to come into fruition next year? What are we even, where are we even going to be next
It's the
year?
landscape, the climate of
It's
life
the
gonna
climate,
be.
what's going on right now? I don't know what the fuck is going to happen in November.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
ain't, I'm just.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
That's what I'm waiting for, bro. Like, I'm chill. Like, low key, like, until then, I'm like, unless aliens come back or some shit, I'm like, everything should be, you know, I don't think anything will surprise me until November. That's kind of how I feel. But then, with the way this year's been going, ain't no telling.
Surprises
bro.
popping up, yeah.
Ain't no telling.
People, it's been a lot of
Shit
death,
is-
a lot of
yeah.
destruction, a lot of chaos. I feel like this has been a very chaotic year,
A lot, man.
and like a lot of instability. So
Mhm.
it's kind of just like, I don't know. That I feel like is also creating like an air of anxiousness
Exactly.
amongst just like everyone.
What do you think the long-term effects of this lockdown is going to be?
That's why I think it's gonna be more mental health.
I think so, too.
I think more anxiousness,
Mhm.
possibly some depression, possibly
Mhm.
people just like, cause it's like a lot of time just like sitting, reflect, like cooped up, not necessarily interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna have some negative effects.
Yeah. I wonder the effects it's going to have on children the most. That's the thing I think about the most.
Yeah.
Like how children, because they're being robbed of like some very crucial
Their
times
youth.
right now.
Yeah.
Bro. That's like, and it's crazy to me how in the, you know, considering our life expectancy, it's a short period of time, but
Mhm.
it's crazy. It's so detrimental. It could change the whole trajectory of your life. Like this
Yeah.
small. It hasn't even been a whole year, but
Yeah.
you know, just thinking back on it, man, I'm just like, man, like people are gonna be greatly affected by this.
Yeah.
This will
Yeah.
affect the rest of your life. Like,
That's-
but trying to come out with something good, but not forcing it. You know.
That's it. On the other end of it, I recognize almost though how like I feel like almost everybody needed a pause, but didn't
Mhm.
know how to go about because that's not that's not the American way to take breaks and take pauses. But like
Mhm.
everybody needs a pause, needs a break. So I feel like the good thing that can come from this is a restructuring and just
Mhm.
like a rethinking of it. Really, this I feel like distorted perceptions and kind of disrupted like people thought like things that couldn't be possible, like that is possible. Take for example stimulus checks. Like
Mhm.
people were talking about Andrew Yang was crazy when he was saying people need to be like
I'm
a universal
So upset how they did that, man.
a universal basic income. You know, that's a good
Yeah,
idea,
exactly.
like a safety net, so people can have some things that'll definitely
Mhm.
help a lot of people. Cause like, and that just shows the disconnect that people that are making laws that are wealthy have with like the common person. How much is a couple $100, $1,000 for just like minor inconveniences? How much that can throw off somebody that's living check to check or
Right.
somebody that's living in a certain condition.
Right.
So it's like they don't see like how much that can do for them.
Mhm.
And I feel like the whole virus is kind of just getting us to really restructure a lot of things we held true before, but we're kind of realizing maybe that like that's not necessarily like stone. Like
Mhm.
maybe a better way is possible.
Exactly.
And it's like taking the 40-hour work week. People, it's like maybe we're overworking ourselves. Maybe we have too much of an emphasis on capitalism and money. You know,
Mhm.
maybe we should get back to where it's like more passions. What if more people were doing things they were truly passionate about?
Mhm.
What if people were doing like actually learning new hobbies and like
Mhm.
doing, not just spending all their time focused on work that they don't necessarily care about? Cause
Right.
like, and realizing what that can do to like a person's soul, like
Mhm.
a person's kind of like inner being.
Mhm. You know, it could definitely do a lot, man. But I just wish I could find a way. I had this conversation last night. I'll tell you about this with my cousin's boyfriend. He works he works in healthcare, but not actually at a hospital. He pretty much like makes calls, like he works at a third party that calls patients after they've had like their, you know, medical examination, whatever.
Mhm.
Pretty much like, hey, how's your service? You know what I'm saying? But it's
Yeah.
like, say if it's like Kaiser, for instance, just an
Uh-huh.
example. You know,
Uh-huh.
this isn't real, but say if it's Kaiser and he works for a totally different company
Uh-huh.
that wants to inquire about their experience. So it's not like, you know, Kaiser calling and
Yeah.
asking you. It's like somebody else.
Unaffiliated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he was telling me besides that too, he also, you know, makes calls to patients for doctors. You know what I mean? And like makes appointments and stuff like that. But bro, he was telling me some crazy shit. He was pretty much explaining how long it's going to take right now for people to get seen, to get psychiatric help, and even how some doctors are not coming through with prescribing people their medications and stuff like that. And you know, he's in the middle of it because he's calling, you know what I mean? He makes the appointments and stuff like that, but he was saying like he really wishes he could tell these people to go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he knows like where they could get help, they could get
Sooner.
better service.
Yeah.
Exactly, because he was telling me like, he was like, David, he was like, if you wanted to make an appointment right now to go see somebody, do you know how long it would take? I was like, how long? He was like, I probably couldn't book you an appointment until December. Bro, if somebody's like on the verge of a mental breakdown and you can't see them until December, bro, let alone like if you can't see somebody for 2 weeks, that's already bad. Like a week is bad. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's going through something mentally, but like
that's it.
That's how we're operating right now. That's
That's it.
That has me worried because it. Trying to put it into words, but that just made me think about just how many people are going through things right now and can't get help.
That's a big one.
That's big.
And it's also tied into even homelessness. How many people are homeless that have mental health issues? So it's like, it's tied in to where like, if you want to alleviate that problem, build a bunch of new, don't even build a bunch of new, just, I'm trying to think the word, make more psychiatric wards.
Right.
You know, places where people that are mentally ill can go and be looked after and get medication and make that free so people have access to that, and then that way they have a place to stay, like they can get on their feet, get the help that they need, and not just be on the streets and homeless. I feel like that would do a lot for the homelessness problem. It's really, that's kind of what the pandemic's hit on too. If anything, hopefully it restructures the perceptions we have about mental health, because now I feel like people are experiencing kind of even that anxiousness. Like if you weren't an anxious person at some point through this pandemic, he was probably a little bit anxious.
Now.
Exactly. He was somewhat, you know what I'm saying, like just uncertain. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen. And like that feeling isn't a good one. You kind of, and it's not always easy to identify and express, but it's like people definitely go through it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things too that I don't want to, it's not something that I want for somebody, but I can say from my own experience that I didn't even necessarily give any credit or think that it was real until it happened to me.
Yeah.
And you know, I hate that that's the way it had to go for me to, you know, acknowledge this is a real problem that people go through, but you know, that's just the case. But like you said, this has pushed a lot of people to, I know a lot of people mentally like have gone through some sort of transformation, you know, in the period of this last 8 months. But trying to figure out how to end on a positive note. Shit. The world is in chaos.
No, yeah. I mean, there is a positivity to it, because like there's a Carl Jung quote where it's like there's no consciousness without pain. So it's like if people go through things and kind of experience things through this, hopefully on the other side of it is a higher consciousness, and now people can, and a more humanity and a more kind of like open and positive and accepting outlook on people and like life.
And hopefully those realizations will turn into action too.
Yes.
Like how you just mentioned about, you know, how dope it would be if, you know, we put more attention to creating psych wards and stuff, and like the homeless situation and just people in general. To, you know, to have a chance to be seen. It's like, you know, let's start working towards that. Let's start doing it. Like we have talks like off camera about this shit, but now you really got me thinking like, man, I'm about to open up a psych ward. Like like dead ass. Like I'm not even playing. But you know, getting other people to think like that and teaming up together, because it is something that's necessary.
Man, just look after one another. Exactly. That's part of it too, like the humanity, and like that's why I feel like sometimes the technology disconnects us from looking after like the humanity, and like seeing the humanity in like fellow men and like the people around us.
Man, that's one positive that I could take from this, because like despite you know all the chaos and stuff going on, there is a lot of humanity being displayed.
Yes. You
know what I mean, amongst people. You know, you see a lot of people caring and empathizing, you know, with other people's situations, which is something I hope continues to happen.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. But got anything else you want to say, bro? I'm tired. I got some shit in my eye. I want to have regular talk.
Yeah.
I'm wrapping it up.
Wrap
you got
it
a
up.
book? You got something else you want to leave him with?
Cast. Just
Cast?
say yeah.
Who's Cast by again? Mention it, because we talked about it earlier.
Yeah, Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. It's a good book to check out if you haven't.
Check out Cast. All right, bet, man. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, everybody that made. I know we got some loyal listeners too, bro. Like,
that we appreciate you.
yeah, no, we
sure.
appreciate you guys for sure. We're still building. We'll always be building. Shit, it's not going to stop anytime soon. We're 10 episodes in now.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, everybody, for listening to Social Class.
10 of them things.
10 episodes, 10 bands, 100 bands, 30 bands, 40 bands.